Thank you so much for taking time to do the interview. ROS means robotic operation system. It is very important for the robotics education and product. Could you please give us a brief background of ROS and you? Thank you.
Yeah, I can give you a really brief, like a 2-minute version or a 1-minute version. So ROS is basically, unless something else that exists that I don't know about, is probably the oldest, largest, basically framework for building robots that has existed yet. It's essentially what happened is probably about 14, 15 years ago, a bunch of grad students talked to venture capitalists and a few other people, and they all got together and said, like, whoa, wouldn't it be cool if we just had a bunch of people working on robots and they could all share and collaborate and make something happen, right? Because like what we have right now is we have all these different labs and everyone's doing everything from the ground up. And it's taking too long to get anywhere. And sort of at that time, you're really starting to see a lot of open source software eating the world, and people building all of these websites based on open source software. And it sort of started in all of that and grew and grew and grew to the point where we're at today, where ROS sort of just has been around long enough and we've built enough stuff with it, and there's enough people who know how to use it and have experience, that we have this huge collection of robotics tools that get used in all sorts of robots. You don't really, often on robot, you don't see what's on the inside, but I can tell you that everything from autonomous vehicles to robots in space to robots in the ocean to robots in warehouses run ROS.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah. If some new guys want to learn ROS, do you have any advice? ROS World 2021 will be held very soon. Is the conference only for the professional guy, or anyone can join?
Oh yeah, we've tried to keep it fairly affordable for everyone. There'll be a variety of things going on. We try to sort of have talks at every level between sort of the introductory level, like learn this module, learn the ins and outs of this module, learn how to, like, I don't know, move it, which is sort of the set of tools that you use to control arms and do like motion planning. So we have everything from that to very, very like, well, I wrote this paper for one of the big academic conferences, but I'm also going to submit it here. So we have, a whole wide spectrum of different courses and different talks going on.
Yeah, so great. Not only for the professional, but also the beginner.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Another topic. I'm very interested in home robot. Amazon announced Astro last week. Can you give us a little bit of a background on home robotics? What it look like in the past, say, 5 years, and what do you see it looking like in the next 5 years?
Well, home robots are interesting. I think, right now we have things that I love. Like I love my robot vacuum, right? Yeah. And if I could grow grass, I live in San Francisco on the beach. I live like my yard's sand. I can't grow grass, but if I had grass, I totally have a robot lawnmower. And we actually call my dishwasher, I call it the dish robot, right? Because it's basically a robot. It's got sensors, it's got actuators. It does something. It's got a control system. So those sorts of things I'm super interested in. And I think, I'd like to see more of them. And then there's the ones that are more, we don't know quite what we're doing yet, but they kind of drive around your house and they talk to you and they're still looking for an application. Those I'm still a little bit, I don't know. I think we haven't quite really figured out the killer app, as people say. I think there's probably something around teleconferencing and stuff like that, but I haven't seen, somebody hit it out in the park in terms of like a home robot that's not like geared specifically towards an application that really will save people time or money or headache or something like that.
Yeah, all kinds of toy robots. Yeah. In your opinion, what does education look like in robotics right now? What do you see as the biggest missing or painful in robotics education?
I think education's still not not where it needs to be for robotics, realistically. I mean, part of the problem is, I mean, you can give people little subsets of things to work on, right? You can like learn to solder and little bits of it, but it's such an integrative field that it's like, and no roboticist either is like, does all the things. Normally we work in teams that I have a mechanical engineer, I have an electrical engineer, there's like 3 software engineers, there's somebody doing material science or something like that. So it's such an interdisciplinary field that, it's really hard to start with, and it's really hard to jump right in. But that said, I think there's been a lot of progress in teaching people. I think in terms of simulation, things have gotten better. I think in just affordability. I mean, it used to be that like, it was really, really, I mean, it still is kind of really, to get the latest, greatest, it's still really, really expensive. To build things that are more toys, it's still it can be kind of cheap. But to do really cutting edge stuff is still kind of expensive. The other side to education that I think is going well is the sort of like team aspect to it, like FIRST and a few of the other competitions I think have been a real boon to robotics education, because when you have a bunch of kids, you actually replicate that whole world of like building something with a bunch of other people. But having said that, like just getting something in the hands of somebody to get them interested, I think is really, really important. You have to find something that's small and compelling and that you can take home and play with.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, we are as the vendor of Stanford Pepper Robot Dog, beginning April 2020, we shipped many Stanford Pepper Robot Dog worldwide and got a lot of feedback. And we also learned cool lessons about how to make a robot and what functions our customer design. And not only the hardware device, but also the ROS platform. We took the lessons to heart and we created Mini Pupper. Mini Pupper is a real ROS open source robot dog platform, and it can support ROS SLAM navigation and OpenCV functions. Mini Pupper will make robotics easier for maker, hacker schools, homeschool families, enthusiasts, and beyond. We are also preparing many user guide and video guide to make it simple as possible. And we are also discussing with the branding team, OpenCV AI team, to together to preparing a get started tutorial, not only the document but also the video. How do you see Mini Pupper campaign, Kickstarter campaign?
Well, it's been an interesting year, right? Because there's like Brandon's doing all these things with the OpenCV AI community. Simultaneously, you have like, a good chunk of the country just stuck at home, and school maybe is in session, maybe isn't in session. So I'd like to think that a good chunk of that stuff kind of almost was by necessity almost, right? Like people have built all these things, there's all these parts laying around. We almost seem to go in like waves of all of these parts coming out, and you have all these things sitting around, then people start putting them together in new ways and figure out how they work, and then you get a new generation of robots. And I think there was almost like a wave of stuff like this, I want to say about like 2015, 2014, right? Like you saw like all these different sensors coming out, all of these smaller camera modules, like the first Raspberry Pis were like 10 years ago. But, there was that time when all these things were sitting together, and all of a sudden people like see all these new parts, they start putting stuff together, and it really enables like new applications and just new projects. And I think we're kind of like at this like high point in the cycle where you're just getting all these cool new components. And then from that, you'll start seeing all the new applications, the new stuff built off of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so, thank you so much for today's interview. We are very pleased, and thank you so much for your always help. Yeah, we will continue to optimize the Mini Pupper based on the customer feedback, and we will make it as simple as possible to the customer. Yeah, that's important.
Yep, it's always important. Great talking to you. We're super excited about it. I can't wait to see like a small army of mini pumpers dancing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yep.